Hey guys, it's Podge, and in today's video we're going to be going over what I believe will be some very strong League starting characters for Path of Exile 3.10 Delirium League. I want to preface this video by saying that, things are still subject to change. We have not seen the patch notes yet, we have not seen what skill balance there is, things like that. We also don't know the power of the cluster duel system fully until next week when that all gets revealed. But in the meantime, I've planned out some trees for you guys that are basically, they sort of sit around level 80-ish, which should leave you with 10-ish points to sort of use the cluster duel system and, have fun with that. And these builds are all viable for SSF, and yeah, let's get stuck into it. The first character that we've got here is a Blade Vortex / Blade Blast Chieftain. So to start off with, you'd level as a Marauder, you'd grab the life here, come down, basically rush the Scion Life Wheel as quick as possible. Don't grab these points here because you get them later as you go. You want to rush up and grab Potency of Will for skill effect duration, as that extends the length of time that you've got your blades around you for Blade Vortex. Come up, you can basically want to grab Elemental Overload as quick as possible, grab Quick Recovery for life and life regen. Then you would come and grab Avatar of Fire, because by then you'll have your normal lab, which is Flames Advance, which is 50% of physical converted to fire, and you basically get a huge damage bonus based on your physical damage. And obviously Blade Vortex is a physical spell, so it makes a huge damage boost every 10 seconds for 4 seconds. From there, you want to basically come down and grab the Area of Effect from Amplify, fill out the Templar area. Then you want to come up and grab Heart of Flame. It's actually huge damage because it's got 6% fire penetration as well. You want to grab Heart and Soul for more life. And then once you hit maps, you want to come down here and grab Soul of Steel and Bloodless. Soul of Steel is huge for your defenses because it's +1 to maximum all res, which is actually will make you so much tankier. And yeah, so for the Ascendancy, so normal lab, Flames Advance, Cruel lab, Death's Fury for Hinokora, and that is for covering enemies in Ash, which is I think it's a 20% more damage multiplier for your fire damage. For Merciless lab, you want to grab Tassalio's Cleansing Water, and that is because you are obviously unaffected by Ignite, which is huge. And also 50% increased life recovery rate, which is also very nice, and it gives you a lot of fire resistance and regen, which is so good. For Uber Lab, you want to grab Arangui's Moon Presence because of the enemies near your totems take increased physical and fire damage. Now that's a more multiplier to your damage, so it's 16% more damage. So yeah. I forgot to mention as well, This is the cluster duel slot here. So these 3 points, you basically, the skill tree is planned to level 78, so it gives you roughly 12, or depending on how high level, but usually to level 90. So it gives you 12 points to basically spend on your cluster duel, however you see fit. For the skills, I've got Blade Vortex Combustion, because if it ignites, it has -19 fire resistance as well as more fire damage. Controlled Destruction, Fire Penetration, Concentrated Effect, or Increased Area of Effect, depending on your scenario. If you want to, map faster, you put Increased Area of Effect in. If you want to do bosses, Conk Effect, just gem swap. And Added Fire Damage, which is 44% of physical damage as extra fire damage. So for the next one, we've got Divine Ire Totem Hierophant. This is 100% physical to lightning conversion. So basically come out of Templar, rush Elemental Overload as quickly as you can, grab Quick Recovery, come through here. You want to grab Ancestral Bond as soon as you can. This will basically be around the time, I think, where you can use Divine Ire on a totem now, so definitely worth picking up. Divine Judgment for the penetration, Divine Wrath for the 5% physical damage as extra lightning damage. It's actually huge damage. You can grab an Endurance Charge here. Then I would recommend coming this way, getting to the Scion Life Wheel for all the juicy HPs. Combat Stamina is also nice regeneration. Primal Manifestation, it's like huge totem quality of life. And basically come down here, grab the jewel sockets last, I think. So get Juggernaut, get Inexorable for the endurance charge when you're hit, the armor and the life regeneration per endurance charge, and life armor while stationary. It's not like it's not super crucial, but the armor while stationary will be very nice if you get frozen or anything like that. Once you hit maps, you definitely want to grab Soul of Steel, because +1 to all maximum resistances is actually disgustingly strong, especially when you've got Barbarism as well for another +1 max fire res, so your fire res will be capped at 77. Just here is where you would use your jewel socket, your cluster jewels I should say, and you've got 10 points to basically play around with the jewel system, which is pretty sweet. For Ascendancy, you'd want to grab Pursuit of Faith in Normal Lab for the +1 totem, Ritual of Awakening in Cruel, Conviction of Power in Merciless Labyrinth, and Divine Guidance in Uber Lab for basically just a bit more damage and some more survivability based off your mana. So for the skills, I've got Divine Ire, Spell Totem, multiple totems, Physical to Lightning, which is what gives you the rest of your conversion, Lightning Penetration, and Concentrated Effect. You could swap this in for increased area of effect as well, for clearing maps and stuff. Next, Essence Drain Contagion Trickster. This is a level 81 tree. So basically level as a shadow, grab the physical and chaos damage. This node here, Coordination, gives you a bit of cast speed, which is nice. Blood Siphon for life. Come through, grab Entropy for skill effect duration. Come up through this way, grab Growth and Decay early on. And then Rush Atrophy, which is these two nodes are like a lot of extra damage, so it's very nice to pick up early. Come down then, grab Method to Madness, grab Revenge of the Hunted. This here's your cluster jewel socket again. I'm not sure how early these drop in the league, or while leveling, or whether it's just when you get to maps or whatnot. But this is where you would do it. You've got like 10-ish points or something like to use. You want to grab Acrobatics and Phase Acrobatics for strong like dodge defense. I've got 2 points here for Survivalist, and the reason for that is that it's +1 maximum cold res, which is pretty huge. Now, I'm not sure about this, but to me, my reasoning behind it is because that in Delirium, I would think that most of the monsters would do cold damage because it's like fog / mist. So, you know, that's often like related to water and, you know, cold, I guess. So that's why I'm thinking that. It's always a good 2-pointer because, you know, lots of evasion rating. All resist is great for solo self-found. And yeah. Anyway, after that, come through the ranger area, grab all the life here. Heart of Oak is massive, stun avoidance and life regeneration. Druidic Rite is good for your flask duration and flask charges gained. Profane Chemistry is also super nice for your flask increased flask effect and obviously more life and stuff. Exceptional Performance, skill effect duration, means that your dots will last longer on enemies, which is a huge DPS increase and just like much nicer quality of life, so you can continue to move for longer before you have to stop and cast again. It's very good like for avoiding mechanics. And then Scion Life, basically for just all the juicy HPs. I have got Essence Drain here linked with Efficacy, Controlled Destruction, Void Manipulation, Swift Affliction, and Empower support if you can get it. If you can't get Empower, probably just run with Arcane Surge or something like that. Just in the meantime, while you're trying to get that, especially while you're leveling it up. Next, we have a generic caster. So this is basically a tree where you can just sort of insert spell here, whichever one you sort of want to play. I have got fire damage node here, just like this can go either way. So you could come through this way, come through here, like whichever element you're using. So your level as a Templar, basically you want to rush Elemental Overload as quickly as you possibly can. Depending on the skill, if you need cast speed, grab Mental Rapidity. Come through this way, grab the life here, Cruel Preparation, come down through here, grab more life here and melding, elemental damage, Damage, projectile speed, and area of effect sort of benefits almost like every build ever, so it's always a good 2-pointer to grab. Resourcefulness is just a great defensive node, it gives you some life regen. Coordination, great cast speed, some attack speed if you want to use shield charge to get around or anything like that. So there's a dual socket there. You want to come down and grab Constitution next, I think, before you hit sort of maps, because that's a lot of life for you. Here's where your cluster jewel will go. This you pretty much have about 10 points to mess around with, so it's always good. Bit of flexibility. Now, the reason I've grabbed Righteous Army and Spiritual Aid is purely because Spiritual Aid means that increases and reductions to minion damage also affect you, and why that's good for solo self-found is basically when you're trying to league start, if you get something like, it might be a wand or I don't know, like, a staff from the Temple of Atsuatl that'll drop, and it might have like 80% increased minion damage on it. That minion damage will now apply to you, so whatever spells you want, like, it will benefit, which is actually so huge. But yeah, as I was saying, if you want to go a lightning spell or a cold spell, you can just basically do this and take out these 2 points, or you can come through the middle here for a lightning spell. It's up to you, really. It's entirely like flexible, however you want to do it. If you don't want to come through here with a lightning spell, you can just drop these 2 points like that, and then you've got these 2 anyway. For Ascendancy, in normal lab, you want to grab Sanctuary. Consecrated Ground gives you a ton of life regeneration, which is huge. In Cruel lab, you want to grab Pious Path, just tons more life regeneration, some attack and cast speed. It also gives you ailment immunity, which is huge for defenses. In Merciless lab, you want to grab Instruments of Virtue for crazy attack and cast speed. More likely, like, cast speed and spell damage, but yeah, just basically conditional, but very, very good, very strong. And for Uber Lab, you want to grab Augury of Penitence for take 8% less elemental damage, and enemies take 16% increased elemental damage, which is actually a more multiplier to your damage as well. So it's very, very juicy, and this basically is just sort of you can do whatever you want with it tree. If you're playing a certain skill that needs skill effect duration, boom, right there, easy 3 points. Like, so it's just a template essentially that you can mess around with. We'll save that one. So the next one is similar in the vein that it's up to you how you want to do it. This is a melee Berserker. Now, not everyone wants to play melee as a league starter, but, some people might want to, you crazy bastards. Yeah, so this is sort of for that, and it's also, level 77, so you've got roughly like 13 to 15 points to play with for your cluster jewel system when that drops. And then, so you want to start off as a Marauder, come through, basically grab Born to Fight, grab Strong Arm for one-hander if you're doing one-hander. If you're not doing one-hander, you want to grab Butchery for two-handers. You want to rush Resolute Technique as early as possible, and the reason why it's Resolute Technique and not a crit tree is, again, because solo self-found and, league start, so crit gear is often hard to come by early on. So once you've got RT, this means you don't have to worry about your accuracy or anything like that, so you've got a 100% chance to hit at all times, which is very nice. Barbarism also gives you +1 max fire res, so it's very good for your defense. Now, this cluster here is up to you. You can basically, if you want to use a sword or whatever, you can basically just use the sword cluster instead. Or, if you want to do maces, grab the mace cluster. Come down here, grab the Impale node, Forceful Skewering. Grab Inexorable, because that is huge defense. It gives you endurance charge generation. And basically, yeah, lots of armor. And yeah, it makes you a lot more tankier. You want to come through, grab Bloodless. Soul of Steel you want to get, but probably wait until after you've hit maps. So, and here is where you would have your cluster jewel socket. So you put your jewel in, and then the tree expands out this way, however you want. You want to grab Constitution next, because it's just fat life. And then Gladiator's Perseverance is also a great one-handed node. Come through into Art of the Gladiator. You want to get that because ignore all movement penalties from armor, so you don't get weighed down and slowed. Especially if you're playing something like Cyclone, you won't be slower, so you get a lot more movement speed out of your Cyclone that way, which is great. And then just basically fill out everything else as you see fit. For Ascendancy, in Normal Lab, you want to grab Crave the Slaughter. In Cruel Lab, I would probably grab Pain Reaver for the life and mana leech. Merciless, grab Rite of Ruin. It's huge, insane damage, like triple your rage effects is actually so massive. Now for Uber Lab, I'd probably grab Aspect of Carnage. Now this is up to you. If you're playing hardcore, you can often go the Warbringer for the War Cries. Basically, they act like a pseudo health potion when you use them, which is wicked, and you get 15% chance to deal double damage, which is essentially 15% more damage that way as well, but you're just slightly tankier, so it's up to you. 40% is a lot more raw damage, but does come at the cost of 10% increased damage taken. So that's the one-hander. This is the two-hander variant, so it's very similar, except for the fact that you've got nodes like Kinetic Impact, Butchery instead of Strong Arm, so you come up through the top here. It doesn't connect through this way, and that's basically just to save points for routing. So you pretty much level this, grab this part, come up, grab the Scion Life Wheel, come down into here, grab Art of the Gladiator, and then you want to come down this way towards the end, grab Soul of Steel once you hit maps again and once your resistor cap. Brinksmanship is melee, weapon range, and Area of Effect, which is huge for something like Cyclone. Here's your Cluster Jewel socket again, and Executioner is massive two-hand damage, so it makes it sort of more worthwhile coming down this way for this jewel socket if you're routing this way anyway to grab Executioner. Same for the Ascendancy pretty much. If you're hardcore, go this. If you're softcore, go this. It's entirely up to you. You might prefer one playstyle over the other. I would recommend, if you're going to go the Warcry route, to grab Battlecry here for 3 points. Very, very strong. Instant Warcries, cooldown recovery speed, and Warcry duration. For the skills, just using Cyclone as an example, this is like a pure physical Cyclone. So you'd use Cyclone with Fortify, Brutality to make it pure physical, no elemental, no chaos. Pulverize is massive area of effect, area damage at the cost of a bit of attack speed, which, to be honest, you're not going to really miss when you've got full rage stacks. Melee physical damage, just raw damage, huge amount. Concentrated effect is also a disgusting amount of damage. You swap this out with increased area of effect when you are clearing packs, and Conk effect when you are killing bosses. So there's that one. Now, last but not least, Scorching Ray Trickster. Now, this is something I've wanted to play for a long time. I haven't actually got around to it myself. I've played it as an occultist once, and I really loved it. I do love the playstyle of just sort of sweeping the packs with your giant big dick laser beam and just melting them down. It's very satisfying. So yeah, basically level as a shadow, come through, grab Trickery, come down through here, grab Entropy, then come up, grab Growth and Decay for just, huge damage over time multiplier, which is nice, and life regen, of course. Next, you want to come down, grab Melding, come across, grab Firewalker. Up this way, you basically want to get Elemental Overload as quick as possible as well. So, the sooner you can get it, the more damage you're going to do. Now, you'll have to use another spell to proc it. You'll have to, probably Orb of Storms would be your best bet, with increased critical strikes, so it crits more often, to proc Elemental Overload. You want to come down, grab Elemental Equilibrium, and that's because enemies you hit with elemental damage get 25% fires, but they lose 50% resistance to other elements. Now, it's great because with Scorching Ray, it's a damage over time. It doesn't hit. So if you use a lightning spell like Orb of Storms to proc this, then you're basically going to have minus 50 fire res on all enemies at all times, if they're hit by it. Huge damage. Potency of Will, skill effect duration means your burns last longer and stuff like that. Constitution next is definitely the play. Come down here, grab Holy Dominion for the all resist. It's, again, huge for SSF. A bit of cast speed here on Light of Divinity. Devotion, just solid life. Purity of Flesh is really good because it gives you chaos resistance. You can grab all 4 of these points if you want. It's up to you. This skill tree is planned for level 80, so you've got 10 points to play around with your cluster jewels. For the skills, we've got Scorching Ray here linked with burning damage, efficacy, elemental focus, controlled destruction, and swift affliction. And they are very strong damage supports, so yeah. So for the Ascendancy, basically in normal lab you want to grab Patient Reaper. That is because you recover 2% of life and energy shield and mana on kill, 4% mana actually. But also it gives you damage over time and 70% increased recovery rate of life, mana, and energy shield if you've killed an enemy recently, which is actually just like so good for, you know, just your life regeneration and stuff like that. It makes you very tanky. Prolonged Pain and Cruel, more damage over time and skill effect duration. It's just huge quality of life and damage, which is great. In Merciless, you probably want to grab Ghost Dance, and that is for the defense that it offers you. Basically, every 2 seconds gain a Ghost Shroud up to a maximum of 3. Yeah, and basically you recover energy shield based on 4% of your evasion rating when you lose one. Also gives you some movement speed, which is nice for marping around a bit. In Uber Lab, grab Swift Killer just basically for you know, more damage and some frenzy and power charge generation. If you are playing in hardcore, probably swap this for Escape Artist and basically just go ham. But yeah, anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like down below and subscribe if you want to see more of these sort of guides. I am also streaming on Twitch at twitch.tv/podge92, so there'll be a link in the description. There's a Discord and my Twitter and stuff if you want to follow me there as well. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think you're going to play as a League starter in Delirium League. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace!